What's going on, everybody? Today we're going over all of this sauce on how to use Effectrix on your hi-hats. Before making this video, I actually went into YouTube and looked at all the previous videos of people that have made something similar, and there's nothing good. No diss to any of these creators, but either they just opened the plugin for the first time when they made the video, or they don't really know how to use Effectrix at all. Boom, and here we go. We have Effectrix. Right off the bat, the first thing I would recommend that you do is put this into 1/8 mode. That's going to allow this thing to loop for a lot longer, because if we just put it back to how it was normally, it's going to like loop every single bar, and the effects that you put in here are just going to play way too often. Now, there's multiple ways you can use this thing on your hi-hats. You can use them to make crazy patterns, kind of like we just talked about. You can use them just to enhance your hi-hats, or you could just use them to add little subtle effects here or there. We're going to look at all three. First, let's talk about how you can use this to enhance your hi-hats. There's a couple different things in here that just make hi-hats sound better as they are. The first one is this tonal delay right here. So if we go ahead and drag this all the way across, it's going to apply this effect the entire time it's being played. Let's hear this. So it sounds crazy right now, but you can also turn down the mix and dial that in really nice. It's going to give us some cool effects. But the preset that I love to use is this resotonic one right here. This preset is the bee's knees. And anywhere from like 60 to 70, maybe even a little higher percentage, sounds amazing on your hi-hats. It almost gives it like a metallic sheen to it, and it just sounds dope in the mix. Let's hear it now. The other one I really love to do this with is the phaser, and this is a freaking gem, guys. So you can go through all these settings. The one that I like to use is the culminator, and we're going to turn down the mix a little bit, but this just makes those hi-hats shine in the mix, fam. Check this out. How fire is that? Now, when I use this, I always turn down the mix, a little bit more. So let's see. And depending on the hi-hat you use, it's going to sound better or worse. Let's hear it in context. The other effect that you can use to enhance your hi-hats is the reverb. But if you just go for like the standard reverb in here, we can just play with the wet level, it's going to be sounding amazing. Let's check this out. See, that's a little bit much, but if we turn it down, awesome. So that's all my favorite ways to enhance your hi-hats. Let's start breaking down some of my favorite little effects here. X loop is fire, but it's quite crazy of an effect. So I like to sprinkle this in once in a while. I'm not going to go too crazy with it, because let's just draw this out a little bit. We're going to click down and we're going to drag over. We can drag it back, or we can double click on it to get rid of it. You can see that's insanity. So I'll use this very sparingly, like I said. And there's a lot of really dope ones in here. This downward stare one right here sounds like a velociraptor. Damn, is this Jurassic Park? This butter one's really nice. The slow stopper can be cool. It kind of exaggerates the sound quite a bit. Let's actually check that one out. So that can be pretty cool. We'll also check out this butter one. So those are some cool ones. The other ones aren't as good in my opinion, but you can definitely check them out. This friendly upper one's not bad either. And if you guys want to go ahead and change how this effect sounds, you obviously have this mix knob right here. And if we want to get right into the nitty gritties here, we have the size, which is going to show us the delay rate. And then you can dial in the envelope effects as well, and the size. And each one of these is going to change it up a little bit differently. But this pitch right here, this is the one that's telling it to go upward, right? Because we're going upward in the effects. But if we want it to go down, we'd go downward. Next is loop. This just basically loops what's playing over and over again. Fourths, eighths, and sixteenths. You can even go backward with this one. I would use the reverse if you're going to do something backward. But you also have echo step, which can be pretty cool. And the standard one I use all the time. Let me show you what that sounds like. That sounds pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and change it to the 16th. So one other cool thing that I want to show you, you can do this, by the way, with every single one of these effects, is you can go here and you can actually modulate what's happening. you can pick what you want to modulate. So let's say we want to modulate the mix on this. I'm going to go ahead and pick mix. And then this thing right down here, you can see you just start dragging your mouse along. You can start filling it in. Let's test this out. Let me put these down too. But let's try out this tonal delay here, which is one of the ones we looked at a little bit earlier. Maybe we turn the mix all the way up. And for this one, let's also assign it to the mix. You have control over everything in here too. Don't think you're just limited to the mix. That's just what I'm talking about right now. But let's do this. For this to really make a big effect, you'd want it to be a little bit longer. Scratch loop is the next one. I don't really use this. I'm gonna be honest. This would sound better on like melodies and things like that. But for the hi-hats, it's not really worth mentioning, so we're gonna gloss right over it. Next is the reverse. This might be everybody's favorite effect on here because this thing reverses the sample. It sounds amazing. And that's why reverse is dope. And you have a couple different effects. You have an eighth, quarter, or a triplet. So if your beat's in triplet, you're covered, man. You don't even got to worry about it. But quarter always sounds pretty dang good to me. This is one that can sound pretty good if you turn down the mix a little bit. The next one is stretch, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this one at all, but this one is fire, fam. Let me show you. So if we go in here, you can see we can do a half speed, quarter speed, then you get some robot sounds, because as you start to stretch things, they make crazy sounds. If you've ever done that in Ableton, you know exactly what I'm saying. But let's check out like a half speed. So it's going to slow down like half speed like that. But I like to use this for like the fade in effect. Let's check this out. So that sounds kind of cool, but we can go ahead and play with the timing a little bit. Maybe let's turn it down to like 37. The next one is vinyl, and this is like a vinyl stop effect. You have a bunch of different choices here. I like how the default one sounds, but you can try these out. It has a little bit of a different effect to each of them, but it pretty much just does a DJ stop effect. So I like to put this in just for that little effect. Let's look at the tonal delay now. We talked about how you can use this to kind of enhance your hi-hat sounds, but each of these has a really cool different sound. I think this A5 one right here sounds like an alarm or something. In fact, that might be a cool one to actually try out this modulation with. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. And we could even reverse it at the same time. Let's check this out. Combining them like that gives you some crazy results. This next one is stutter, and it kind of cuts in and out of the mix. It does like a stutter effect. I don't use this one very often. Crush, I don't like to use crush very much on the hi-hats. It kind of dims the sound of the hi-hat to me. So I'm not a big fan of the crush one. Same with the filter. I'm not really trying to do a bunch of filter stuff. Though if you do use this vowel mode, you can sometimes get some cool effects. Let's check this out. Maybe talking uncle. So there you go. And it's using these different vowels to kind of pitch it at these different intervals, which you can change right here with the cutoff. You can see it's at A right now. If we turn it up, you can go to O, U, and all that good stuff. Next is phaser. Like I said, I like to add this one in if I'm going to enhance the whole hi-hat. The only other time I'll really use this is if maybe I want one small section to be using it like this, or if I'm layering it with other ones. It can sound good like that, but let's check this out. I like the culminator a lot, but this 16 tel one is really dope too. You also have a chorus in here as well. This one, again, same thing as the phaser. I like to layer this with things or add it in like section blocks where it can kind of change up the feel of the hi-hat altogether. So maybe we go between them. This one needs to be turned down quite a bit though, because it makes a drastic difference. This next one is dope. This is the delay. You can get crazy with the delays on this one. In fact, let's layer it with this right out of the box. I love to play with the different knobs on this one. Pause. And you can get some really dope effects by using like this feedback, for instance. There's some really good presets on this one, like Don't Wake the Evil is really awesome. I also like this raising delay a lot, and the decent one is just like a more normal approach. And then, of course, you have your reverb. So this one is interesting. I use it from time to time if I'm going to put it in for the whole enhancement, or maybe at one part or another. What can sound really cool with this reverb one is if you put it on the very last square of some effects you are doing. It like shines it up. And also, let me show you the ones that are like my favorite to go ahead and combine. The phaser and the tonal delay can sound really awesome together. Let's do this Velociraptor sound. One other really great one that you can combine is when you put this reverse right here with the loop. So let's set this to like 16, for instance. It basically speeds up the reverse that's happening. And if we have it come in at certain times like this, it'll speed up, then go back down. It can sound really cool. By the way, you can also press this chaos button right here, and Effectrix will just throw some random stuff in here. Sometimes it can be good. I don't know. Most of the time it's not because it's going crazy, but you might hear one spot that sounds cool, so you can get rid of everything but that one spot. All right, we're going to throw in another MIDI here now, and let me show you some of these presets that I made. I think they'll be very valuable. So I made an Effectrix bank that has 35 of my favorite presets. It's called the Secret Sauce Pack, and this is all of them right here. I also included 35 hi-hat midis, all of the craziest hi-hat midis I've made, and a whole bonus hi-hat pack as well. 20 of the best hi-hats that you can find, especially when you're trying to make trap beats like this. If you guys want to grab that, I'll leave a link to it. It's on our website. The first 5 people can get it for $5. Just use the code 5for5. And if you're one of those people, it'll automatically be $5. Otherwise, it's just going to go up to 10. I wanted to make this pack really cheap if anyone wanted to grab it, but I'll show you some of these hi-hat midis as well. I'll show you some of the hi-hat sounds that are in here too. If you guys can't afford the pack, I'll play some of these hi-hat sounds. Just go ahead and screen record on a screen recording software, and you can go ahead and steal them from here. And here's some of them in context. So now that you have Effectrix mastered, the next thing you're gonna need is to know how to make the best hi-hat midis from scratch. So you're gonna wanna check out this video next, where I break down how I make all of my best hi-hat midis.